Hello and welcome. In today's video we will be reading The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, which is a 1300 page book. Actually, I lied already. Where is my credibility? It is a 1243 page book. If I'm being honest with you, I wanted to like more than I actually did. So let's get into it.
Dear Marie, I hope you got somewhere to be. I've been floating out in space. I thought I'd write to you in case you felt alone, just like me, with this anxiety. Is it all a simulation? Ones and zeros in an empty basement. I wish I could be with you again, 'cause I'm lonely as ever, and I thought it'd get better. And I hope to see your face somewhere, 'cause I'm lonely as ever, and it doesn't get better. Fantasies, I've got fantasies that we're driving down the boulevard. You hold me close and all the scars are gone. I should say I don't look the same as I did when you saw me last. Might be all the alcohol and cynicism, the OCD and constant overthinking, like what I should have said, what I should have done. The walls are coming at me and I'm running out of places to run to. Dear Marie, I hope you're better off than me. I wish I could be with you again.
Good morning. I woke up super early this morning because relatively speaking, because I wanted to read a little bit more of my book. But I believe this is my first update, so I'm currently on page 230 of The Count of Monte Cristo. I started this a couple of days ago. My goal is to read 100 pages a day. This is a 1200 something page book, so I felt like around page 200 was the appropriate place to kind of update you guys for my first update. I honestly didn't know what this book was about, really. I mean, other than what it says on the back, I didn't really know what this book was about. We are following our main character, Edmond Dantes. He is about 19 when this book starts. He is a seaman. He comes back from an expedition, or he comes back from a voyage, and the captain recently died. He becomes the captain. He fulfilled the task that the captain asked him to do on his deathbed, and that task was relating to Napoleon. At the time, it's a traitorous act to have anything to do with Napoleon, so he was basically ferrying illegal letters unwittingly, which ends up putting him in prison. But he was about to get married to this beautiful young woman, and there's this other boy who is in love with this woman, who wanted to marry this woman. The woman said, "No, you're like a brother to me." And he got all mad, and he went to this other dude that was on the ship with Edmund, who wanted to be the captain, I think. I'm pretty sure he wanted to be the captain. And they basically plot to ruin Edmund's life so he can't become the captain, and he can't marry this young woman that this other guy wants to marry. So that's what happens. Basically, he was in prison. He was in prison for 14 years. At this point, he has gotten himself out of prison. He broke out of prison. He made a friend in prison, who's probably one of my new favorite characters in literature, although he was in this book for such a short period of time relative to its length, of course. Love that guy. I can never remember character names who everyone thought to be a raving madman in prison, but he was not. He's actually super, super smart. And it was really cute because in prison, he ended up basically educating Dantes for a couple of years while they were there together. Eventually that guy dies, unfortunately. He was like my favorite character. What happened? Why did he have to die? But he died. He had a bunch of seizures and he died. or strokes, seizures. And yeah, so Edmund broke out of prison, swam to an island, found a boat that was peopled by people, and he's on this boat. And then he ended up finding his way to the island of Monte Cristo, and that's where we have left off. He's currently on the island of Monte Cristo, which is where the raving madman Abbe Faria, who's my favorite new character in literature, okay? At least of this year. He's my new favorite character of this year. Told him there was a secret treasure hidden, which just ticks so many boxes for me. I love little treasure hunts. And he is on a quest, Dantes is on a quest to ruin the lives of the men who got him in prison, essentially. So yeah, I think that this is super interesting. Something that I do know about Alexander Dumas. I completely forget where I heard this from. I was racking my mind to see if I could recall where I heard this from, but I believe he was a gambling addict and an alcoholic, so he pretty much, I feel like I heard that he only wrote books to like make money. He wanted them to be blockbusters so he could make a bunch of money to pay off his gambling debts, essentially. Like, he only wrote books when he needed to write books, and I think it's crazy because he ended up writing The Count of Monte Cristo and The Three Musketeers. But this book reads like it's just a fun time. Of course, the language is more dense than our modern language, as it was written a long-ass time ago. It was serialized, if I recall correctly. And it's just, I'm shocked at how quick of a read this is so far. I'm a slow reader, if I'm being completely honest, but it's compulsively readable, and I'm super pleased by that. So yeah, that's my little update. I'm so excited to continue reading it. That's why I woke up early before work, so I can read at least 20 pages. So, I have read about 200 more pages of The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm about to take a shower. I have a bunch of oil in my hair. Let me talk to you about that, actually. That's fun. I have a bunch of oil in my hair because I've been trying to do hair oiling because my hair was thinning, like falling out. So I'm trying to take better care of my hair. So I've been using this. It's like a small business that I don't know, I found it on Instagram. But it had a lot of really good reviews, and I'm almost finished with this one bottle, and I like it so far. Of course, it takes time to see results, but the brand is called Golab Beauty, I think. Yeah, Golab Beauty Strengthening Scalp Massage Oil. And it has like rosemary, castor oil, and a bunch of other oils. Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you because I have a bunch of oil in my hair. Yeah, but I've read about 200 more pages of The Count of Monte Cristo since yesterday. It's a super fast read. It's a super fast read. I will say, I think this last 200 pages has, I mean, it's a 1,200 page book, you know? It's gonna take some turns. It's gonna be a little unique in different areas, perhaps. The last 200 pages, I don't think that I enjoyed it as much as the first 200 something pages that I read. So now, basically he's out of prison. He's got his treasure. He was on the island of Monte Cristo. I think that's where I like last left off when I updated you guys. But he was on the island of Monte Cristo. He has his treasure. He's now going out and about, or after he finds his treasure, he goes to like reward his friends in his life, and he's found that like they found hard times while he's been in prison the last 14 years, so he's helped his friends financially without telling them who he is, basically. And now he's over that, right? He did all that. Now he's going on to seek his revenge. But then we started to get like different stories from different characters. So we have Albert and Franz, who if I'm being quite honest, I don't know if I like missed, so I don't think that I missed anything about them. They just kind of like came into this story and are now traveling around and hearing all these things about the Count of Monte Cristo, who now goes by the name sometimes Sinbad the Sailor. And so there are all these stories and like meetings and kind of lore around this guy, our main character, Dantes, who goes by different names because he's now the Englishman because he got a fake ID because people can't know that he's the dude that was in prison, you know, everyone thinks he's dead. Yeah, there was a lot of references and specific mentionings of, right, like 1001 Nights, which this book, honestly, the last 200 pages that I was reading feels kind of like that style. I feel like we're just getting a lot of extra stories, again, like this mythology and this lore around this character. Dante, Sinbad the Sailor, the Englishman, the Count of Monte Cristo, all the same dude. It's like building up this mythology around this guy, and all these people have different stories about different things that are really engrossing once you get into them, but I feel like reading this book, we're just kind of going off in a different direction, and I almost want it to go, and I am sure there's a huge reason for it. I am sure there is a huge reason for it. I just don't know exactly what that is yet. I want it to tie it all back together. So I'm excited for that to happen when it ties all back together. There have been like some mentionings of, now that he has all this money, you know, money doesn't necessarily equate to happiness by any means. So there has been some moments talking about that. There was a really interesting scene of some dialogue between our main character, the Count of Monte Cristo, Sinbad the Sailor, and this new character named Franz, who now they're in Italy and they were watching these guys be put to death, basically. And our main character was like talking to Franz, about how when people do commit really atrocious crimes and torture people that you, like say someone tortured someone that you loved, or really ruined somebody's life, or really hurt somebody for a long period of time, it's not fair that they're just put to death and have only a moment of torture, and not like a long, it's just not fair compared to what they imposed upon somebody else. And so that was kind of like a little bit of a dialogue conversation that they were having. Yeah, basically ties into the whole thing because he's mad. He is mad at people. He is mad at people that ruined his life. But he seems unhappy. He's like, you know, he hasn't really been in this story too much, like specific. I mean, he's been in the story, but he's not been like the main person we're following. We're following these two other characters, Franz and Albert. I always forget people's names. What was I saying? But he seems unhappy. That's what I was saying. He seems unhappy, especially compared to, he seemed much happier, honestly, in prison with his like simple life and his BFF bro who was teaching him a bunch of stuff about life. And I just missed that part of the book, if I'm being honest. Not that I want him to be in prison. I want him to live, laugh, love his life out and about. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm gonna keep on keeping on. It's really satisfying to look at such a big book and be like, whoa, look at what my bookmark is. It's like slowly creeping along. Okay, I'm gonna go.
If I had a boat, I would sail out, take every brother and sister of mine. We'd row in the sunshine and sleep when it's start, hoping to find somewhere we can call home. But it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh.
Okay, so I felt like I needed to do a little bit of an update. So I'm on page 550, around page 550, 552, 553. I am on the chapter titled Ideology, and I do not want to try to read those Roman numerals right now, so the chapter called Ideology has been really fascinating thus far, and I'm only a couple pages into it. So basically what's going on is the Count of Monte Cristo is having a conversation with Villefort, so the prosecutor, and they're talking about the law and what they think is right and just and different ideologies, I guess, and how they look at it and what have you. So I wanted to read you a couple of little sections. So this is on page 551. Very true, monsieur, very true. This is the Count of Monte Cristo. I know all that because my particular study in every country has been justice, assessing the criminal proceedings of every nation against natural justice. And monsieur, I have to tell you that the law of primitive peoples, that is to say an eye for an eye, seems to me in the end closest to God's will. I really liked this section. Honestly, all of page 553 in this Penguin Black Spine Classics edition, but I'll read this little paragraph. It says, well, monsieur, the Count replied, have you reached your present eminent position without admitting that there may be exceptions, or even without encountering any? Do you never exercise your mind, which must surely require both subtlety and assurance, in trying to guess in an instant what kind of man you have before you? Should a jurist not the best applier of the law, or the cleverest interpreter of legal quibbles, but a steel probe for the testing of hearts, and a touchstone against which to assay the gold that every soul contains in greater or lesser amounts? So I feel like this chapter is really touching upon the major theme of this whole book, which is to say, every man on earth, man, woman, whatever, is going to do poor things. It's going to make poor decisions, be a bad person at certain moments. But I like this line, testing the hearts and a touchstone against which to assay the gold that every soul contains in greater or lesser amounts. But there's, a difference between good people and bad people within that, or it can kind of tip each way or the other. It's like, what is really the intention of the person, and what makes somebody a good person? When a couple of decisions people make in their life can really affect somebody's life entirely negatively, and where should the justice be admitted, and where should those actions be countered, where, when, why, kind of a thing. And it's just very interesting. It's very interesting.
Water's black, 'cause it's black, it's all black, black water. If I had some time, I'd be biting it well, but my house is on fire, there's no one left to tell. Just take what is given, the doors have been sealed. Just breathe in the poison and hope God is real. I'll pick you violet flowers if I get there faster than you. I'll pick you violet flowers if I get there faster than you. 'Cause it's mad, yeah, it's mad. Oh, the whole world's mad. 'Cause it's mad, it's all mad. It's mad out there. 'Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. 'Cause it's black, it's all black, black water.
I have been reading my heart out. I've been reading my little heart out. I just got donuts this morning, and I am currently outside of my friend's house. I'm going to drop them off, and there are people behind me. Are they like waiting for me to leave? No, they're parking. Yeah, I'm outside of my friend's house, and I'm going to we're gonna eat donuts. But I've been reading my little heart out. Currently on page 730 something, 33, 732 of The Count of Monte Cristo. And so much has happened. So much has been happened. I have been mind blown. I have been mind blown a couple of times. I've been confuzzled a couple of times. Much confusion. There are so many characters. There are so many characters, and the Count of Monte Cristo goes by so many different names, and other people have been going by different names, and I've just been confused. And then I'm not sure, like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, was I supposed to know that this dude was that dude, actually? And that this person is this person's kid? Basically, everyone's, like, connected. Everyone's, like, I mean, yeah. There's like a huge cast of characters, and everyone's connected. And all the characters that were in the beginning of the book that were like young, and Edmond Dantes' age, and all those people now have kids of their own who are full-grown adults. And the Count of Monte Cristo is now like friends with those kids, and who are adults. He's friends with those people, and everyone thinks he's like younger. Nobody knows who he is. How does nobody know who he is? Okay? And I swear, Mercedes definitely recognizes him. She definitely recognizes him a little bit. But, like, she's not really. She's, like, not convinced she's correct. I don't know. That's going on. That's going on. Danglers is my least favorite character. He's my least favorite character. Hate him the most. Hate him the most. I also really do not like the guy that Mercedes ended up marrying, only because of what happened in the beginning of the book. Yeah, but he hasn't really done anything else so far in the book, but I'm sure he'll come up a little bit more. I'm sure he'll come up a little bit more. What else do I want to say? Really don't like Danglers. This whole book is about how money can corrupt you. It's all about, like, the evils of money. You are not happy if you have money. Like, money doesn't buy happiness, basically. Totally agree with that sentiment. Totally agree with that sentiment. It is just like a rollicking, fun, good time that keeps confusing me. Again, like I'm saying, because there are so many different characters that are all connected to each other and have known each other and whatever. So that keeps confusing me, but not really. Like, I get it. I think that the point of the book, it's like slowly revealing these things to you, and you're supposed to be like, whoa, that person is that person. Crazy. I think that's the point. It's like entertaining. Who would have guessed it? This book was written to entertain people. That's really what it reads like. It's a fun, good time. Don't be intimidated by it, but it is long. It is very long. It is very long. And I think I was saying before how it feels almost like there were a lot of references to 1001 Nights, and it almost feels like it was doing that in the story as well, like all these different side stories that the Count of Monte Cristo was having to kind of like build his character and build the story and what have you. But I was sure it would all come together, but I didn't see it at the time. Yeah, it's all coming together. They're all basically like his stories abroad, like meeting all of these other people and then coming back. Now they're in Paris. They're in Paris, right? I don't know. They're in France. And they're all friends. They're all getting to know each other. They're all friends. I think he's starting to like make things hard for Danglers, like him trying to make him lose all of his money. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'm enjoying it. And I'm going to eat some donuts. So I'm really going to enjoy that too.
Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. Cause it's black, it's all black. Black water, oh, black water. Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. Cause it's black, it's all black. Black water. If I had a boat, I would sail out.
Okay, so I just got back from the gym. So I'm on page 800, essentially, 800 to 803. I have, what is that, like 400 something pages left. I might do one more update before I finish out the book. I'm not sure, depends how inspiration will strike me. I feel like there certainly is deeper meaning to this book, but I do think that it is primarily, okay, I might change my mind when I finish this, but I am currently feeling like it is primarily just a fun, sweeping, epic story involving multiple different people and multiple different generations. I've said this multiple times while reading it, but it's really talking about the evils of money and greed and how nobody can escape making mistakes in their life, and what nobody can escape making mistakes in their life, but what sets the good people apart from the bad people. I'm trying to decide if I feel like some of these people feel remorse for the crimes that they've committed or the sneaky things that they've done and what have you. I marked these pages, page 734 and 735. Monsieur Villefort is talking to Madame Danglars, which, okay, I was saying the last time I talked to you guys when I was sitting in my car, I'm confused a little bit with the amount of characters and how interconnected that they are, because I've said this already, but I'm gonna repeat it. As we've been reading it, it's like someone else has a different name, and then we suddenly realize that these people are actually connected from a different backstory, and I'm like, did I miss something in the last hundreds of pages that I've read that would, or in all the hundreds of pages that I've read in this book that connected these people? But then I feel like, so you're confused for a second, and then as you keep reading, you become enlightened to what's actually going on and these people's actual connections. And I'm trying to figure out, I still have yet to figure out, maybe I'm just like losing my mind and I'm just a bad reader, and maybe this has already come to, like, I should know this, but like, how are Monsieur Villefort and Madame Danglars connected? Like, who were they beforehand? Do we just not know yet? I think we just don't know yet. Because she was married, and he was married to someone else, but I'm pretty sure they had a kid together, who's Benedito, which really threw me off. I had to look up who Cavalcanti, the guy who's like pretending to be the Cavalcanti son. So you see what I'm saying? I'm just like, there's lots going on. So, but it is very interesting. But what I was trying to say is, on these pages, Villefort was having a conversation with Madame Danglars about essentially what I was just saying, that no one can escape making mistakes in their life, and people try to maybe make the right decision for themselves, and it ends up, unfortunately, hurting people. And what then are we supposed to do and think when we can only make the best decision that we can for ourselves at the time? That makes him, I think, sound like a better, I don't think he's a terrible person, but I do think that he put his family first, obviously, when it came to the whole thing with Edmond Dantes in the beginning of the book. So I actually don't think that Villefort's a totally bad person. I do not like Danglars. I think that he is the bad person. When Villefort was talking to Madame Danglars in these pages, I do believe he was primarily referring to the case of their child, Valentine, and the young Morel. Forget his first name. It's not Emmanuel, is it? Maximilian. And Valentine. So Valentine is Villefort's daughter from his first marriage, and Maximilian is the old Morel son. So the old Morel was the ship owner that Edmond Dantes worked on. He's like a really nice dude. Anyway, so he's talking to Valentine about how he loves her and wants to marry her, but she's supposed to marry Franz because the family wants her to marry Franz because they're like a better match financially, and they're like more equally like of the same class kind of a thing. Anyway, but this is what Maximilian says. I have never been a character in a novel. I am not a melancholy hero. I have no pretensions to be a Manfred or Antony. But without words, without oaths and protestations, I entrusted my life to you. You are failing me, and you are right to do what you are doing.
I told you so and I repeat it. But you are failing me and my life is lost. If you go away from me, Valentine, I shall be alone in the world. My sister is happy with her husband, and her husband is only my brother-in-law. That is to say, a man who is attached to me by social convention alone. Hence, no one on earth has any need of me, and my existence is useless. Which I think is like beautiful in itself to read when you take it out of context, kind of, especially. But like, he's basically saying, I will die if you do not marry me.
So I have now finished The Count of Monte Cristo, again, by Alexander Dumas, which was 1,243 pages. The first thing I'm going to say is I just don't think any book needs to be over 1,000 pages. I just don't think that this needed to be 1,000 pages. So that's my first thought. There you go. There were definitely some profound moments in this book. Some moments that I had where I really wanted to take my highlighter out and highlight a certain section and highlight certain quotes and what have you. Primarily, honestly, it was towards the end. As a whole, I just don't think that this book touched me as deeply, maybe as it has some other readers, or as much as I would have wanted it to. The first, I'd say about 300 so pages, while Edmond Dantes is like, we're getting the story started. He's then taken away to prison and he's in prison. He meets his Abbe Faria, his cellmate, not his cellmate, but his neighbor, who he ends up befriending, and he's learning. And then he escapes prison, comes out of prison, is like building his fortune. Those moments and that section of the book in the beginning were really good, really intriguing to me. And then if I'm being honest with you, a big chunk of the middle, I mean, I was like along for the ride, I was along for the journey, but I can't say I was necessarily entirely captivated. I felt like I was just I had to get through that part of the story where all the characters were being built, we're meeting new characters. As we're meeting all these other characters, and we have a very large cast of characters, the people who wronged him in his youth, who took away his happiness, so he believes, and their children. He meets all these people and their stories, and like the lore of the Count of Monte Cristo is kind of built up around him, and we get all of that. That huge section of the book was just fine for me. It didn't have anything special in it for me personally. I feel like that there just wasn't as much depth there as I would have wanted it to be. It's a good story. It's like a good epic story about all these like complex relationships kind of. But then I do feel like the last 300 or so pages, or about 200 pages, got really interesting again. So just for me, it kind of knocked off a bit in like the large section of the center. This overall, it's a story about life is one crazy long story for each and every one of us that takes so many crazy twists and turns. And yes, we have a say, kind of, in things that can happen. We do have a will, and we do have the ability to enact some sort of change and to spark movement in certain directions in our lives. But overall, it really is a story about how our fate is also decided sometimes by the actions of others. Again, like I was saying, a little bit by ourselves, but sometimes it's really just out of our hands. And it comes down to finding what is beautiful that's already there, a way to accept our lives and what have you, the fact that we cannot escape pain and suffering in our own ways. We cannot escape the fact that we will make mistakes. We cannot escape the fact that mistakes will be made upon us. But again, like I was saying, it lacked a certain amount of depth to me, that it just didn't touch me entirely personally. The end, there were moments that I did really love and did find some quotes to stand out to me and be a little bit profound. On page 998, Mercedes' son Albert said this, and this was probably the most profound quote to me in the whole book, and it's super simple, but it just hits me personally in my life and my journey and my experiences. So it is, I hope that the world will not consider me a coward because I have done what my conscience ordered me to do. I really like that. Another thought that I have and had while reading it is that this is probably just because it's a product of the time that it was written, right? So it was written in the 1800s, but I did not care for the female
a lot of the female characters in this book. I will say that Eugenie was probably, I mean, she wasn't even interesting, to be fair, because she didn't really have much say in the book, but I guess, like, she didn't really have much page time. She was probably the most interesting female character. Hades' story, I guess, was pretty interesting, but she didn't seem to have any personal agency, in my opinion. I really hated Mercedes. I really did not like Mercedes. I didn't like her at all. Not even a little bit, not even at all. Really didn't like Madame Villefort, the one who, spoiler alert, well, there's spoilers in this, it is what it is. The one who killed herself after she killed Valentine, and then she killed her son with her, like, I'm sorry, I just can't. And then she starts pleading, like, please, I'm just an innocent woman that was trying to do what was right for her son. There was nothing to really latch onto or respect about the female characters in this book. And again, I think that was probably just because it's a product of its time. But still, I didn't enjoy it because of that little element to it. I do feel this was promised to be a story about revenge. And yes, while he was focused on it, I just don't feel like there was anything particularly satisfying about the revenge that happened. I know we had Fernand, who ended up committing suicide. This book did actually have a few discussions about suicide. I'm jumping all over the place, but my previous thought, referring to the book being about people thinking about suicide, we cannot escape pain in life. We make mistakes. Mistakes are made upon us. So that was an element of the book that I did appreciate and I did like. But back to what I was saying about Fernand and revenge. Fernand ended up committing suicide because he went because he went bankrupt, but also because he had like shame of the story. He just like bankrupted Danglars, and that was supposed to be like his big revenge. I just feel like a lot of the revenge was about money and finances, and that is just like the weakest thing to me. That is so weak. It was just too much focus on that. I wish we went into the psychological effects of the characters that he was trying to get revenge from. So of Fernand, Danglars was just like genuinely a shitty person. Like he was the most self-absorbed, evil-leaning person in the whole book. For sure. So I don't think he had much conscience to go on there. We got a little bit from Villefort. I just wish we got more of that, the psychological, again, effects of everything going on with these people. I do think that Villefort got kind of the shittiest end of the stick, and unfortunately I feel like, yes, he in the beginning made a selfish choice. I do feel like he had the least amount of genuinely ill intentions towards Edmund, which I found to be interesting. It was a little bit lackluster for me in the revenge department, if I'm being honest. Those are my main thoughts. I wish I liked it more than I actually did. I would like to leave you, I guess, reading a couple random quotes that I'm gonna flip to that I highlighted at the end. When I ask you if you were consoled, I was speaking to you as a man for whom the human heart holds no secrets. Well then, Morel, let us sound the depths of your heart. Is it still that ardent impatience of pain that makes the body leap like a lion bitten by a mosquito? Is it still that raging thirst that can be sated only in the tomb? Is it that ideal notion of regret that launches the living man out of life in pursuit of death? Or is it merely the prostration of exhausted courage in you that stifles the ray of hope as it tries to shine? Is it the loss of memory bringing an impotence, I can't read, apparently, of tears? Oh, my friend, if it is that, if you can no longer weep, if you think your numbed heart is dead, if you have no strength left except in God and no eyes except for heaven, then, my friend, let us put aside words that are too narrow to contain the meanings our soul would give them. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.